Back Daily Show. 10:11 is the time. I should not have said that about the I should have waited till all the guests left today.
We've had them in the library before.
No,
yeah.
You know what my problem is? It's not just that. it made me self-conscious about my abilities to capture things because I was not helpful. I was the person that made it worse. I'm just going to be honest before we're going to talk about it. No, I didn't. I almost gave the bird a heart attack, Kevin. This thing didn't make it. Yeah. And PETA could have came.
We had a library. We had a bird in the library one time, and our maintenance man, I am not making this up, it flew past him and he just caught it in midair, caught it with his hand. It was kind of still one of the most incredible things I've seen in the library. So
actually, people that have fireplaces in their homes, it's not uncommon for birds to come down the chimney and then get in the house.
See, I haven't had that. I've had a mouse in my furnace, and the sound that made was terrible.
Oh, that's kind of
I bet.
Well, all jokes aside, we've talked to Hayner Library for the last couple of years, and we've got to take a really behind-the-scenes look at a lot of the programs. We had to take an in-depth look at the events coming up, and what we've always talked about is just the resources, but we don't really talk about the need too much. It's always about what is provided to the community. And this time, this is a little bit more exciting because this is a building project and really a historic one for the library district. And Kevin, you're the chairman of the library district and the board, correct?
Correct.
And Mary, you're the executive director.
Yep.
And now take me through this. So Hayner Library is looking for a new building, correct?
Correct. What we're looking to do is right now our lease at Alton Square Mall ends in 4 years.
Yeah.
And so we've been in the mall since the late 80s, but it's time for us to look at possibly building our own facility outside of the mall and to put all of our resources into one building. So the Hayner building downtown will always be a library with the genealogy, I can't say it, local history library. I got it out, yeah. Where it's located, that will always be a library, but the other facility and then Alton Square, to combine them into one main building.
Wow.
And for us to own the building, not lease. Because right now we spend over $20,000 a month in rent.
In rent.
Plus, we're responsible for all of the maintenance.
This is what got me, and I'm so sorry to cut, but we were talking one day, and you had a repair done, and I didn't realize that was on you. And I thought for $20,000, that would be, and not to victimize anyone or make anyone feel bad, but I thought that would have been on the landlord because it's their building,
Correct.
But it's not, and it's not just on you. It's on the taxpayers, too.
Exactly right. So we've been spending $20,000 a month plus all of the maintenance. And for example, like you just talked about, when the HVAC system goes down and has to be replaced, that's on us. The mall is not responsible for that.
And our utilities. We pay the utility
so
bills, too.
we pay everything.
Yep.
We actually their tax bill, they just divide the tax bill up amongst the tenants, and we have to pay the tax bill. And so it all gets kind of lumped into those fees. So we think that it'd be a better situation, better for the taxpayers if we owned our own building and not pay rent to someone else.
And now, before we go any further about the building, just so I get this clear, it would be the library, and then would it be the local history library too?
Well, that would stay probably where it is now.
So that would always stay there.
The Hayner building, no matter what we use it for, will always be Hayner Library building.
And the local history library would probably expand down to the lower level of the building now, where now we have other tech services and we have the administrative offices.
Gotcha.
So they would get more space. And on top of that, there probably will be a section in the new building for that as well.
Do you see this just for like a children's space or anything like that, where you can, I don't want to say children's museum, but almost have that component of it with the new space and the new library? Or is this just for getting the main shell of the library put into place first?
Yeah. Are you talking about a potential new building or the current Hayner building?
So the new building, if there was a potential, would that just be for the main library? Or would you see the opportunity for, some nuanced children's space?
We're looking for all of those opportunities.
Wow.
What can we do that make this better for the community? Not just what we've been doing, but what can we do now? Because right now we're limited because of our space constraints that we have. And this would allow us to dream big and to do other things that we don't have the ability to do now. Just like right now, our performance center room is in a different part of the library or the Alton Square Mall. That would allow us to have everything on one in one area and more convenient for the public.
For the patrons, yeah, because right now, we have a programming room upstairs at Alton Square Mall, which is working as well as it can for, we're trying to make it work, I should say. But some of the issues with that are accessibility. So, as we all know, the escalators at the mall have not worked since May.
Well, and that's what I was saying. You've been on so many times, and you've had to tell people.
Like, don't come in this way, don't come in that way. If JCPenney is closed, you can't come in that way. And then people will come to the program, but then they never go to the library because they're not in the same facility, and vice versa. So
when it goes back to that main question is, if you're paying $20,000 a month for services and utilities to not work and all of these things, it's, again, not just the library, it's the taxpayer that's paying that. And that's a question that the taxpayers got to ask themselves if that's what's worth it for them.
Yeah, and the duplication of services too. You're duplicating the downtown library and the Alton Square Library.
Yeah, you're right.
If you can combine them into one, it's one utility bill, it's one set of books, because we duplicate up staffing. And the staffing that we have could be utilized in a really fun way that's more, and not just fun, but more helpful to patrons, because it would allow us to have more one-on-one tech support and more one-on-one reference work and more one-on-one hands-on, helping patrons, getting them out into the community, us out into the community more. So
now it's efficiency too.
Absolutely
it's so much easier to obviously have everyone under one roof than to have multiple locations and drive or work, and just have the disconnect of the cell phone too. Even where do you see this potentially being located?
That's a good question. We don't know yet.
Okay,
we are looking at all of our opportunities.
Okay.
So we're looking at, the Alton area, the Godfrey area. We're looking at, the area around Alton Square itself, because that seems to be very popular. The Alton Square branch seems to be very popular with the public. And so was
it the location?
Yeah. I've asked the staff, like when people say, well, the mall's so convenient. And I say, can you follow that up with a question? Is the mall itself convenient or is being on the Beltline convenient? And it's always being on the Beltline. Yeah, because people find it difficult to get into us even at the mall. They have to navigate all the way through the mall.
Yeah.
So we're looking at everything. So nothing's off the table.
Okay.
We do know we had a consultant help us come up with a building program. And one thing that we learned was repurposing buildings, in our case, doesn't really work. It actually would cost more to buy an existing building and retrofit it to what we need.
100%.
So it'd be cheaper for us to build brand new. And so that's where we're headed, I think, is that we're looking at, building something that's brand new, that's designed to be a library. The question is where and how much land.
Yeah.
The next step in this process is hiring an architect. And because the architect has to tell us, will this piece of land work or not? And so hopefully we're in the process now of getting we just sent out requests for qualifications for the architects. They're due back in the middle of November. Then first part of December, we'll be interviewing architects, and we hope to have the board approve an architectural firm or a design build firm, one or the other, to help us with that process. And go ahead.
Well, and now after that, how do we know whenever we're really moving here? So we hire the firm, we start these plans.
Yep.
When do you foresee the possibility of that big news of, we potentially found a plot, or we're going to break ground, or what's the process after that? Does that go back to the voter?
That's a good question. It doesn't necessarily go back to the voter at this point. Okay, so what's going to happen is once we hire the architect, then the architect will work with us to do our design build firm. Let me explain real quick what the difference is. An architect's going to come in, they're going to design the building, they're going to do the schematics or whatever that we need, help us identify a site. And then if you do that, then we have to hire a builder, contractor, to come in to do the rest of the work, an engineering firm. So if we do design build, that's like a one-stop shop. So the design build firm would have the architect, they would have the engineers, they would have the design build, they would have everything. And they also assist with the financing side of it as well, help us to identify, sources of funding for this program.
Yeah.
And so that's the next step. And so the next step is to do that. Hire the person, probably will be in January when we hire the company.
Okay.
And then shortly after that is to start identifying land, have them do their evaluation of the land, and then hopefully by sometime in the spring, we can go back to the public and say, we've identified a piece of property, this is where it is, and this is our plan.
This is so exciting.
It is exciting. It's exciting because, and I mean, I've been at the library for 30, actually
Right.
this week I think is my 30th,
No
30th
kidding.
anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah. But, you know, having gone from being a page, which is, you know, entry level, shelving the books, all the way now to the director. So for 30 years, and Kevin, you've been the same way, you've been on the board for 40 years. I mean, you know, knowing how the buildings, we've had to adapt to these buildings, and we've always had to work for the building. The building has never worked for us.
Right.
And we've made it work. We've made it work. But now, you know, it is exciting to think, like, what could we do for the community? What can we do for the public?
So cool.
And actually have a building that works for us instead of us trying to spend our entire day. Where do we put this? How do we make room for this? How does the building, you know, here's the floor plan we have. Here's the floor plan we need. How do we make this work? It's exciting.
And it's interesting talking about, you know, buildings, existing buildings, and how you have issues with them. When we renovated the current library downtown, there is one column in that building that everything had to be designed around. And that became a real obstacle to what we really wanted to do, because it came down to that one column. And we don't want to have that problem again, because we did the best we could do to work around that one obstacle.
Yeah. And existing buildings, a couple of people over the weekend, after they've been reading the newsletters or the news releases and the news articles, have asked me, you know, why not renovate like a school or this, that, or the other? A lot of it comes down to, I think, on average, a library or a building needs about 40 to 50 pounds per square foot of load capacity. Libraries need 150 pounds per square foot of load because of the heaviness of the books.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so a lot of these buildings that people say, oh, what about this school? But they're great ideas, and we've looked at all of these. They don't hold the load, and so then to retrofit a building, you're bringing in steel, you're bringing in things that kind of are cost inefficient.
Well, and too, like if even like to me, the one that makes, there's two, and that would be Clara Barton or McKinley, and both of them are thousands of dollars a month to heat and cool too.
Yeah, and we've looked at those.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, and Mary talked about how many pounds per square foot. That's exactly why the library moved at Alton Square from the second floor to the ground floor.
That makes sense.
Because when we looked at expanding, because we did look at expanding that facility 10, 15 years ago, when we looked at it, that floor is only rated for like about 50 pounds per 75 pounds per square foot. We needed the 150 pounds per square foot, so that forced us to go down to the main level.
So there's a lot of things that libraries are different in ways that other buildings aren't. When I say we've looked at schools, you know, we've talked about all of this. I should say, you know, we've talked about existing places and
I just think
buildings.
the obvious not even argument, the obvious thought when someone says why build new is very calmly answered by saying, look at what you've accomplished with the space that you've had to work with.
Right.
You've had innovative programs. You've had programs for the first time, really, that a lot of area libraries have seen them, and then they've adapted, or you guys have your network, which was really cool. But, you know, when you're able to create a space that's really yours, think about all the new increases and ways that you can really bring the library to the people. And that's really just, to me, you guys have earned it at this point.
Yeah, we nearly had, last year we had almost, I think it was 117,000 people that came in and used the library.
It's incredible.
And that's in the facilities that we have now. You know, our thought is, how exciting would it be to have this brand new space where we can offer more and bring even more people? I would love to see that number even double if it would be possible. And I think a new building would allow us to do that.
And and you talked about the new building too. We want to be responsible in what we build.
Yes.
And that was one of the nice things about dealing with our consultant, is he brought up that a lot of, when buildings are designed by architects, nothing against architects, but you have a lot of wasted space.
I can see it.
How do we get around those big vestibules that you walk into, big foyer areas that really don't get utilized, and it's not productive to the building? And so we want to build a building that is, as you walk in the front door, is a productive, flowing building that's of usable space, not wasted space. And because of that, that means the building can be, is not going to be larger than what it needs to be.
Yeah.
I think one important component of this, too, for the public to note is just because you never know what the glass ball is going to tell you in a year or 6 months.
Exactly.
Is that it's not the Alton Library District, too. It's the Hayner Library District that has a couple of different towns and jurisdictions that make up of it.
Correct.
Do you see it ever leaving to where, like you mentioned Godfrey earlier, could the location be in Godfrey instead of, on a Godfrey Road or whatever, comparatively speaking to a Beltline? And, is that something that you're prepared, because it seems like the public really likes those traditions. Is that something that's kind of been talked about yet on?
That definitely has been talked about, and we're not ruling out, anybody, because it's all a part of the district.
Yeah.
And one thing that, in Alton, for example, Alton is always going to have a library within the
downtown
city because of the downtown facility has to be a library. So that's always going to be there. Mm-hmm. And then do we look at our population growth? Where's the population center at today? It's changed over
a lot.
50, 60, 70, 80 years or more.
Yeah.
And so now we're looking at that too. Where is the population growth? What do we see the future to be? And then look at those alternate sites, whether it's Alton, Godfrey, even Foster Township, because if you think about Foster Township, which is a part of the district, it actually takes in part of Humbert Road.
Yeah.
And so in that general area there. So that's all
interesting.
Is a possibility.
Yeah, it's a big district. And I think, the board and myself have been really mindful of the fact that it's a big district and everything that Kevin said. And then also being mindful of the fact that we have neighborhoods, of families and people. And Alton, I mean, we are looking at everything because we're such a big district. Trying to find something that's geographically close to everybody is a difficult task that has that much space.
You hit it on the head there. And I think that I think at the end of the day, too, this is coming down to a common sense question. Mm-hmm. And I hate to sound so blunt about it because I think that word's overused now, but it really is. I mean, a building that costs you $20,000 a month, so do the math times 12. That scares me. I mean, that's
a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
But then you have all that, but also the pressure that puts on the staff too, because it's not like they are paying the repair bills. But when you always have to worry about something breaking, or you're getting ready to start your day, and boom, here comes water dripping from the ceiling.
And it does almost weekly. Yep. Almost weekly.
That's a great note. Yeah. And now, what do you think that would do for your staff, though, if you do have a brand new building?
I think the morale, the staff, I have to say, is wonderful. They're fantastic, and their energy and their enthusiasm for their jobs now is off the charts. I think getting into a new building would just bring a lot of life that we already have, but it sparks even greater creativity because we're all together. Instead of trying to man 2 circulation desks and taking up that amount of staff. Now you have 1, and maybe you just have 2 people. Now you have 4 people that can get out and do more story times, more community events, more one-on-one computer work. It's just
it opens up a lot of opportunity for the staff that they don't have now.
Yeah.
And to piggyback too on the sides of the district, our district is over 100 square miles.
That's incredible.
That's incredible. We take in 3 townships. Every township is 36 square miles.
Wow.
So that's over 100 square miles of territory that we cover. That's a large area.
That is. And that's why I think it's good to notate that, though, for the public in case something does happen where it's in, a Godfrey or a Foster Township at first, and they see that headline and go, what?
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's part of this district, and it's where the map comes into play. Before I let you go, what's the best way for the public to reach out? If they do have questions, is it to a board member in the library district? Is it to this?
They can reach out to Mary. They can reach out to myself. Obviously, they can reach out to any member of the board. But yeah, Mary and myself would probably be your best resources to contact, and we're more than willing to answer any questions that you have.
I'm really excited to follow this process. Because this is historic for Alton, because
it's exciting.
Hayner Library is one of the most historic components of the city, and I think if you add this is a really exciting chapter.
Yeah.
What's your final thoughts at this point right now for the public?
I think that the public, we want them to be engaged. We want to hear what they think, what their ideas are. Also, too, I want the public to know that this process has been totally transparent.
Yes.
We could have went into executive session to discuss some of these things. We have not done that one time.
That's incredible.
It's been there for the public to see and to hear. We're not trying to hide anything. We want everybody involved.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited by it because, like I said, for 30 years have worked here and seen what a wonderful asset it is to the community. And I just see this as being an opportunity to just expand on that and just be something that Alton and Godfrey, I feel like libraries in general are a place that people aspire that they should be something bigger than just a building. They're sort of the community place, and I'm excited to see how that works.
And it would be nice to have the CJ Nasello show right there.
Yeah.
Our new
Yeah.
building.
Now that would be something too. I think we can make that work. There we go. We'll be keeping you updated. More Daily Show comes your way next, and we will fill you in with a recap article. By State Development joins us on the show. Some exciting news from them. Mary is in the studio again.
Yeah.
Not this Mary.
Oh, yeah,
Mary
different
Lane.
Mary. Okay, I was like, yeah, I am.
Back in a moment.